Real Country 1430 AM and 1073 FM WRDN. I'm Brian Winnekins as we continue our spotlight of the Berglan Farm with dairy farmers of Wisconsin. And we are talking again this morning with Sam Olson, fifth generation farmer here at Berglan Farm, and the first son to own the farm, which that in and of itself is really cool. If you notice, those of you watching on our YouTube channel, if you see the certificate, that's the original homestead certificate for the farm. Might be a copy, but that's what was given to the original homesteaders, and the president, Rutherford B. Hayes. Being the history nut I am, I find that just incredibly fascinating. Now, one of the things that the farm likes to do here is they do rotational grazing. And on this Tuesday morning, we're going to talk a little bit about rotational grazing. And so, Sam, for those that may not be familiar, what's rotational grazing?
So, my growing up and what we often see with grazing is, what's a pasture? It's just a fence with grass on the inside. And, a person thinks, well, you're not going to, if you mowed your lawn on Monday, if you go back out on Tuesday, there's probably not much to mow. And really, that's the same way it works with rotational grazing. I learned mostly my first part of learning about rotational grazing was a pasture walk where Brittany was riding for the Dairy Star and brought me with. And they talked about, how they converted 60 acres of hay fields into pasture, and that's when I realized that a pasture is just a hayfield you harvest with a cow. So if you're harvesting your hay fields every 28 to 30 days, well, that's what you should be doing with your cows.
So you have about 50 acres that you use for this. So do you divide it up with a temporary fence, or how do you do that to move the cows around?
Yep, there's a combination of the existing permanent fences. My parents had really took the first leap into it about 30 years ago, no, 25 years ago, by dividing up the main pasture into 4 sections. And after that, that helped. That really extended it for them. They used to have to start green chopping maybe in early July. Now with the rotational grazing, outside of the really droughty years like we've had this year and last year, we've been able to go the whole summer. We haven't done any green chopping in years, but used to have to feed round bales by the middle of summer, and we haven't had to do that.
Talking with Sam Olson, he and his wife Brittany and their son Titus. They are owners of Berglan Farm here in Dallas. We're in southern Barron County. And again, thank you to Dairy Farmers of Wisconsin. And I would think, Sam, that by doing this you really get a lot of different benefits from this because, one, you get to have the cows just kind of be out and about doing their thing in the summer.
Yeah, that's one of the, the best things. And, we've noticed a good cow is going to do well kind of regardless of the system. So we've kept a focus on that, and good cows, and they all adapt well to the grazing, and they eat well, and they're able to wear down their hooves on on dirt and rocks and grass. It's not concrete all the time.
And so when the cows are in one section, how long are they in that section of the field before you move them?
When we first started, we were very diligent in grazing. Really, we'd move the fence every milking. And after time, between the, it would end up being one of us would milk and one would move the fence. And that's not always the easiest, especially after Titus was born. So we went to moving it about once a day. And depending which paddock, so a paddock we consider a small division of the main pasture, we might put them on maybe a quarter of a paddock and then move them once a day. And then they're out of that paddock, usually for 4 to 5 weeks.
And so are you in that pasture, are you using native grasses or are you using alfalfa, or what's inside that area?
The main grasses, it's kind of what's been there. The main pasture had a renovation in about when they divided it. So that would have been in, I believe, 97. So there's a combination of fescue, but the clovers do well. There's some bird's foot trefoil. Having the combination of grasses, there's cool season grasses and warm season grasses. Having that combination ensures, what grows in June may not grow in July. So having something that'll grow in July but might be lesser in June, having that combination of grasses, clovers, legumes, a few other things, that makes a difference.
And so I would think that because of this, that's 50 acres, you really just kind of, you let Mother Nature take care of it, and the cows, they provide all of the nutrients for it, and basically you're just recycling is kind of what you're doing.
That's the idea. It makes things a lot easier for us. That saves on one manure hauling year. We have a manure pit that used to have to haul spring and fall. Now we can usually get by hauling it out just once a year.
We are talking with Sam Olson this morning, him and his wife Brittany and their son Titus. They're the owners of the Berglan Farm, and we are just in southern Barron County. And again, thank you to Dairy Farmers of Wisconsin for supporting our Dairy Farm Spotlights every month. So, Sam, with the milk production, then when it's in the summer, do you notice any changes when the cows are out on pasture, or does it stay relatively the same?
If we have corn silage, it really stays pretty close to the same. If we lose corn silage, later in the summer, yeah, we'll see a decline then. And we see fluctuations, if you hit a really hot stretch, they're going to go down.
Yeah, and I guess we're getting ready for winter, so obviously the pasture's pretty much done now. You go through the winter, it's springtime, pastures come back. That first time you let the cows out to go onto the pasture, I mean, are they pretty darn excited about that?
Well, they're even excited, this time of year. If you hit a few nice days, you can kick them out during the daytime. And but yeah, that the first time they're more excited about going out than coming back in. The coming back in, that gets to be the problem.
And I suppose even for milking, do you have to kind of go out there and say, okay, come on, ladies, let's go, or are they trained to know that it's time to go?
Well, they usually know when it's milking time, so as long as you're pretty consistent, they're ready to come in at about the time you want them to. And of course, when it gets hotter, we'll put them in earlier in the afternoon with a little extra hay in the barn, and then they're in the shade under the fans, and then they're ready to go at milking time too.
And in the summertime, when it does get hot, I mean, will they go back and forth? Are they able to, okay, they want to be on pasture for a while, but it's getting pretty hot out here. I think I'm going to go back to the barn. Are they able to go back and forth?
Yeah, we stay on top of it, and we know if it's going to be hot, we'll keep them in, or sometimes in the really, really hottest times of summer, we'll only put them out at night, and we'll just keep them in during the day when it's the hottest.
We're talking with Sam Olson this morning. He and his wife Brittany and their son Titus, fifth generation here on the Berglan Farm in Dallas in southern Barron County. And coming up, we're going to get Brittany in here. I want to hear the other side of the Jersey story here. And we're going to find out about what some of the things Brittany does with the calves. So we're going to find out more about that tomorrow morning. Again, thank you to Dairy Farmers of Wisconsin. You're listening to WRDN.